Hi guys, I hope you're doing fine. My name is Mauricio. You know me already, and yeah, I'm super excited to actually deliver this session because being a team leader is actually something that I've really liked during my Isaac experience, and I think it's something that it's one of the things that I enjoy the most about having this job. So yeah, welcome to How to Be a TL and How to Manage a TL by Mao, as you can see there. And yeah, so just to tell you a little bit about my team leader experience in Isaac, here is what I've done. But it is simple, like I put it here because I want you to understand two things, and this is why, in a way, it's important. Okay, so team leader, I was team leader so external relations, OGET, in 2015, and I had three members below me. Of course, I had a VP at that time, but yeah, I was just a TL in my area. Then I was VP OGGT in 2016, 2017. I had approximately 10 members in my team, where I had two TLs in so and each TL had three or four people in each of their teams. Then I was VPIGGT in 17, 18, and it was kind of like the same structure. The team was about 9 or 10 members as well, and I had two TLs that had both 3 or 4 people each in their team. And yeah, as you know, right now I'm MCVP OGX, and here we could say that in a way I'm the leader of the commission, head of the commission, and I have 6 LCVPs. You know who you are, so hi guys, hi hustlers. But yeah, the whole point of putting this is that even though I was managing, for example, when I was VP, two TLs that were managing as well 3 or 4 people each, at the same time I was team leader of these two TLs, and this is something that you have to keep in mind for the rest of the session, because sometimes even though you have TMs, you have to be the team leader as well. So this is something that has to happen in all levels and not just on the TL level. But well, let's get started. Why is it important? Why is it important to have TLs in the organization? And I don't know if you know this, but basically what started happening was that VPs were having big teams. So it is not like it's right now in Austria in general, because for example, here normally we have teams with 3 people or 4 people. So the biggest teams we have, I think we do have like 8 members or 9 members. So it started being because of these reasons of VPs having a lot of people and not being able to track properly all of them. So then it's kind of like to have another level within the team. So it's a person that can help you track people, but at the end of the day, in the end of the day, being a VP, you have to track these people as well. So importance to operations, number one, team leaders play a significant role in the operations, and team leaders meaning also VPs. And yeah, they are the ones that build capacity, right? They are the ones that are engaging the team, that making sure that the team is working, that the people are excited, that the people are staying in the organization. And we are also, as team leaders, directly boosting the exchange, right? So at the end, for example, the MCVP, that it's me, it's not doing the approvals, but it's the members, it's the TLs that teach the members how to do it. Yeah, the ones that are actually making the operations. And the second one is the membership education. So basically, our team leaders are supposed to enable our members in 90% or even more of their learning. So yeah, so if we actually enable team leaders to deliver this in a good way, then we will contribute to the operations. And this is something super important, because you have to understand that you as a VP being a team leader, or you having TLs in your team, you need to know that these people are actually the ones that are delivering education to the members and the ones that are training the members to be the best ones at their job. So yeah, take this into consideration. And for you to understand a little bit more how this works in terms of hierarchy, this is the who part, so who does what in this big picture. So what is the role of the MC, what is the role of the LC, and where is the role of the TLs? So the MC is the one that actually provides the material. So for example, making an example in my team in OGX, it would be SOPs, for example. But at the end, we are the ones that are responsible for tracking that the education is being done at a national level. but then LC's local committees, so the LCVPs, take care of the educational plan of the team leaders and provides them with the education needed. Normally, it's the LCVP TM that sees the whole picture, but in the end, all of the VPs from each of their functionals, they also have to take care that the educational plan is actually being followed and that their members understand what is happening. And having team leaders, it could be, as I said before, the VP or the TL, they have to receive the knowledge and deliver good team experiences to their members. Okay, so this is why the knowledge has to be in the team leaders, and yeah, so the members can also ask and look up to these people. But yeah, here, it's easy to say this, like, oh yeah, you have to be a leader and you have to do things well and stuff. But yeah, I know that this is like a super broad, or you could say like a wide statement in a way. So yeah, then how to be a TL. So what do you need to train your team leaders on? And also, how do you have to train yourself to be a team leader? And I'm gonna tell you a set of activities that you actually have to do, and that, yeah, that you're expected to do and are non-negotiables. So the first thing that it's super important is to have team purpose. So this means that your team has to know what's its purpose, and also, in a way, like, what's their ultimate goal, like what are they trying to do during that term. They need to know, yeah, what's the reason why they're here, and also to know their identity. And here I want to give you an example of something that happened during my first LCVP term. So this is a logo that I created after actually OGIP changed their name to OGGT at a global level. So my team used to be called OGI Pirates, and we were like, oh, what is going to happen? Because it was, of course, a word that was making sense with OGP, and then I was like, yeah, I don't know, then we are going to be like OGGT Pirates or something like that. And it's maybe a dumb example. It could seem that it's a dumb example, but that at that point, my team was new, and they were not really engaged with the name. And I was like, yes, this is the perfect time to change the name and to make them feel, that they created this. So we created the OGE Titans. And yeah, a lot of the activities, and for example, when we would have LC meetings or LC activities, we would be super strong with this new identity, because we all felt it. We all knew the purpose, we all knew the values, and we all knew what was our goal. That actually was be number one in ISEC in Mexico. At the end of the day, we actually achieved that. So it was super, super, super good. But I do feel that it was closely related to my team knowing their purpose and feeling engaged with the identity. So yeah, make sure that, for example, this is why we have the hustlers at a national level, the pioneers, and this is something that could really, really help you with your team in terms of engagement and in terms of purpose. Another important thing to have is strategies. And yeah, so basically is to have a big picture of operations, how each one contribute, and how to plan and set the strategies to achieve the goal. So yeah, here we have some examples, like, for example, making a SMART goal, to have your strategies, JDs, timeline, budget, and team development plan. And these are super important. Like, from here, I would say the strategies, because your team is going to know what they have to do apart from the normal activities. And this is why during TACO you created strategies as LC and strategies in your functionals. But yeah, also to know the timeline, so when things can happen, because sometimes we have these strategies, and then we're like, oh yeah, like, maybe I'm not gonna start in January, but I'm gonna start in March. And then in March is going to be late and you don't know what is happening. But one thing that I think it's super, super important, and I would like there to say the most important one from this part, is the JD. And here, I really want to say, based on my experience, that members without a clear JD, without knowing their weekly and monthly KPIs, and having actually roles that won't challenge them, are super, super likely to drop out, because these members really don't know what's their purpose in not only in the team. Maybe they can understand what the team wants to achieve, but they don't know what they have to do. And this is super important to understand, and to make sure that they are being challenged, and that you as a team leader, you're challenging people with activities, and not just saying like, oh yeah, like, just I don't know, make this PPT and next month I'm gonna tell you what to do. No, like it has to be super challenging, and every person in your team has to know what's their role, because if they don't understand their individual contribution to the team's goal, then they are never gonna feel engaged and they will blame it on the team. And yeah, an example is giving the JD to your members in the beginning and making them sign so that they understand. And this is going to help you a lot when you track these people, and like also to go back to this document and tell them like, okay, you signed this and you knew what were gonna be your responsibilities. So now make sure that you are doing them. Another important thing to have in the team is a personal development plan that we call it PDP. And yeah, basically is that you need to know and understand also the personal goals that each one of your members have, and you also need to assist them so that they create like this plan, but not only like the personal development plan, but actually an action plan to be able to execute. So yeah, as Gisai would say, you are executed. And no, but jokes aside, this is something that really, really needs to happen. You can also base the PDP on their LDA results, and you have to find the balance between task and people-oriented leadership styles. And I put this because I want to tell you about my first LCVP experience. As you may know or have noticed, I'm a person that really focuses on task, on discipline, on having the things done. And yeah, even though that was my focus during my first semester, my people were working, but they were like not engaged with Isaac at all. And this is something that uh, at at the end of the semester actually affected the team, because many of them left, not because they didn't like Isaac, but maybe because they didn't see the value that Isaac was going to have in the future. Or some of them were like, oh yeah, it's a cool organization, but that's it, like I already left what it had to be left. And I was like, yeah, I never really pushed them to have like the Isaac experience. So this is why it's important to also for them to understand this part that we like of Isaac being a community, and also knowing why your team members are there, or your team leaders as well, and be like, okay, this person wants to develop this. I don't know, for example, they want to develop public speaking skills, and then I'm gonna push them to, I don't know, deliver sessions in an IPS, or deliver session during LC meeting, things like this. So just make sure that if you're a people-oriented person, because it can also happen the other way, that you're also focusing on tasks, and discipline. But if you're also super focused on task and people doing things, you also have to make sure that you have balance and that you're actually helping people develop themselves at a personal level. Another cool thing, and yeah, something that I really like, is team incentive system. So yeah, basically it's creating activities that will challenge members, but that they will also get something out of it, meaning an incentive. And this could be, I don't know, it could be like from one chocolate to a super cool prize, or this is what we do. This is why we do a conference challenge, or this is why we have, I don't know, R&R. So yeah, like just make sure that you are not only pushing your team, but that you're also congratulating them when they are actually doing cool things. And yeah, for example, here I found this picture that when I was LCVP IGGT, that actually our team identity was wolves. I had two different teams in my functional. So I had a TL in charge of sales and the other in charge of consideration or approving people. So I made this challenge where the sales team was going to focus on selling 12 opportunities, and the consideration team was going to approve 12 people. So this is something that you create healthy competition within your team, and this can really, really help you. And at the end, the team that lost had to prepare dinner for the winning team. So you can also you can always come up with this kind of activities to keep people engaged, and it is also going to help you in terms of bonding and activities. So take that into consideration. But yeah, I already said that JD is one of the main reasons why I think it's super important to have it. It's one of the essential things. But the second thing that I think it's the most essential one is one of the most essential ones is tracking. because this establishes an accountability system, and you can also monitor and you can check if the plan is going accordingly to what was said in the beginning, and if the strategies are actually being executed. But if you don't track what your TLs or members are doing on a daily and weekly basis, you won't get the results you're expecting. This is, I don't know, I think that you can think about any of these examples based on, like, you can think about any part of your life, like it could be school. If you had already been in Isaac for a while, you can see this. And if people are not being tracked, they are not gonna do things, or just some of them will. And yeah, sadly, it is something that we need a lot, and we also need it at a personal level. We always need to be tracking ourselves, because it's also super common for us to forget the activities that we have to do. And this is why when for example, during the session I delivered in Taco of how to plan, you also, it's not about just planning, but you have to be tracking the activities and that you are doing them when they are supposed to be done. And as a leader, you have to make sure that everyone is doing what they are supposed to. And this goes as well to the structure being VP, TLs, and team members. You have to make sure as a VP that your team leaders are actually doing their things, and the team leaders have to make sure that team members are doing their activities. So everything, as I said before, this is the second most important one that you have to have. And I think that the best leaders, not only in Isaac but around the world, are the ones that are super good at tracking. Another important thing to having your team is to have one-on-ones. So basically, it is about facilitating individual spaces for the members to reflect on their personal development. So yeah, it's kind of like a lead space, or like spaces based on competence. And yeah, here you also take this moment to establish next steps forward. And yeah, here's important um, to understand that these spaces are essential. And this is also something that happened to me during my first LCVP experience, that I was like just neglecting this. And I was like, yeah, like they don't really need one-on-ones because we are seeing each other weekly, and like we always say things there, blah blah blah. But yeah, I was I was wrong, and there's a lot of things that people are just going to address when they are with you. So this is why they are called one-on-one. So don't have to try one-on-ones with two people at the same time. It may sound obvious, but yeah, sometimes it's not for some people. So make sure it happens. And here it is a really good touch point for you to check what we said before about their PDP, and also to check how they're doing, if they're having like issues with the team, personal issues. And this is actually the best pace to help people on an individual level. And here is my recommended basis. So for example, if you are having a team with TLs, I would recommend to have bi-weekly one-on-ones with the TLs, because these are the people that you have more communication with, and monthly one-on-ones with TMs, because you're not going to have like super direct contact with them. But it is also important to know what is happening with them in terms of teams and personal level. Or for example, if they're having actually issues with their TLs or something is happening, you need to be aware of these things. Another important thing is to have team days. And regarding team days, okay, yeah, this is a picture of team days with people from Mexico that we went to these cabins, and it's a super cool place. But yeah, sometimes teams take team days and they just work during team days. And if you work during this time, then the whole point of having team days is gone, because actually team days are hosting spaces for the team to bond and create a good environment to perform. So basically, it is a time where you're gonna go away, or it could be even in the city, but the idea is to be in an environment that it's also like not the office. And yeah, like just spend time together. Yeah, so for example, we went to these cabins like twice in Mexico. We went to the beach in my last team days. Things like this that could really help the team bond and not just talk about work, but talk about their lives. It's literally like, you could see it in a way like holidays. And yes, you could have a little bit of work during there or something that would be good to have, but the idea is to basically have just a bonding time. make sure this happens. As I said before, I really neglected the personal part in my first LCBP experience. And yeah, with team days, even though we had like some of them were like, oh yeah, like rushing, or some others were like, yeah, we can move them, and we never had them. So just make sure they happen, because this could really help your team to not only bond but also engage with you and like being in Isaac and in the team. And regarding team days, another good activity to have there would be to have feedback. So yeah, giving and receiving individual and team feedbacks and creating next steps for better relationships and performance. I know that for a lot of people, these are spaces that are like super, uh, I don't know, nerve wracking to have, and it's like, no, I don't want to have it, and yeah, that it could be super strong emotionally for them, but it's super important for the team to have these feedback spaces and to be honest to each other, and to not only be honest but be respectful, because as it says here, it is going to be um, the first step to have a better relationship in the future, and not only a better relationship, but also to have better synergies and performance in the LC. And yeah, here I put recommended basis quarterly. It's the same as team days, like you can have it once every 3 months. The idea is not also that you are like doing team days every week, because then I think that the whole point of having team days, it's gone. So yeah, just make sure that it happens maybe every 2 months or 3 months. And yeah, I think it would be a good basis. In terms of performance management, yeah, having a performance tracking tool, so assessing competence gaps at the performance review. And yeah, basically make sure that you have a tool where your tracking is recorded, and also future activities that have to be achieved. And this will help you a lot in terms of accountability. And yeah, to give you an example, as MC, we have a weekly tracker where in the beginning of the week we put no, at the end of the week we put all of the activities that we have to do during the next week, and also we have the same for our monthly plans. And yeah, at the end of the week or at the end of the month, we go back and we put like the activities that were done or were not done. And this is a super good way for the team to also be aware what the others are doing. And as I put here, in terms of accountability, is going to help you a lot. And yeah, the third thing that is super important, um, in my regard, like I would put it as top 3, is to have team meetings. And yeah, you just have to set the agenda of the meeting, tracking the deliverables, and also have education during these points. But this is something that a lot of teams don't do, and I know it's based on people, or sometimes cultural, like organizational culture. But yeah, since I started my Isaac experience, my VP was like, yeah, okay, so we are gonna have weekly meeting, and this is a non-negotiable. And I think that's why I stayed engaged, and I also had discipline, and it was because it was something mandatory. And as I put here, it has to be mandatory, it has to be weekly, and it has to happen all the time. Okay, so I know that maybe during holidays is going to be harder, but then have online meetings. Like, you cannot stop doing these things, and this is something that a lot of people neglect in Isaac and shouldn't happen. So just make sure that team meetings are happening every week. And yeah, because team meetings are the touch point where you're going to see if things are actually going good, if the team is doing good in terms of how they work with each other, all of these things. And if you wait for 2 weeks or for 3 weeks or for 1 month to see your people, then you're not going to see results. Maybe the relationships are going to be super damaged, and it's going to be way harder to track. So yeah, make sure they happen. And yeah, let's continue. So yeah, basically the last one is leaving a mark. So at the end of your team experience, you also have to make sure what is the legacy you want to give to the next generation, what is going to be your succession, so how are you going to plan it. And in a way, it's also like, how are you going to transition the next team. You always have to tell them like what happened in terms of operations, what happened in terms of numbers, but also transitioning what was good and what was bad about the experience, so that they can actually improve as a team. And of course, they are going to have their own challenges as team, but making sure that this happens at the end would really, really, really put them forward. So, for example, right now with your current VPs and EVs, make sure that they are actually transitioning you all of the information and all of you need to know to start your term in the best way possible. So yeah, here actually we have all of these. So this is the summary. I'm not gonna go through them again because we just went through them, but I think it would be good for you to have this list. I don't know, print it, show it to people, to your members in your first meeting, and tell them to also realize that all of these things have to happen. And yeah, also keep it in mind. And yeah, in terms of how to manage a TL, I won't say a lot because at the end you have to make sure that these activities, all of these activities, not only you are doing them as a TL, but also your TLs are performing. So, for example, if your TLs have a TM purpose within your own team, so they have another identity within your team, just make sure that you're aware of these things. Make sure that you're aware of the strategies that they have, of the personal development plan that your TLs are having with their members, that they are tracking well, that they are having one-on-ones, that they are having team days, that they are having feedback. Like all of these things you have to make sure that are happening, and not just expecting that your TL is doing it or not doing it. So yeah, here is more like things that you have to consider. So as I said before, you have to track all of the activities mentioned before are being implemented in the team. Okay, so I don't know, let's suppose that you have a team leader in charge of attraction, and you have one in charge of consideration. You have to make sure that they are doing the activities and and with their team. Sorry. And then you also have to remember that you are your TL's team leader. So I've seen a lot of cases of people just waiting for the team leaders to give results, but the VPs are not actually acting like team leaders, and you are a team leader at the end of the day, or you're supposed to be it. So not only you have to make sure that they as TLs deliver these things with their members, but you also have to deliver these things with your whole team. So make sure that you remember that you're a team leader. The communication with your TLs has to be daily, because for example, if you're having 10 people in your team and then you're seeing your TLs every week or every 2 weeks and not really knowing what's happening, then it is going to be super hard for you to track if your team is actually doing something. And this is also something that you have as an activity as VP when having team leaders. Maybe they are going to help you in terms of having less work in terms of operations, but then you have to have more work in terms of tracking. And as I said before, your team meetings have to be on a weekly basis with your TLs. So for example, something that I was doing was that with my TLs, I was having a team every week and they would report to me, but then every 2 weeks, I would have a team with all my team, so TLs and team members. So for 1 week, I wouldn't see my team members, but then the next one, it would be the whole team. And this could really work, but my communication with my TLs was daily. Remember that you are the final responsible as leader of the team, because you are the VP and not your TL. So if you're the LCP, yes, you are the final responsible. You are the final responsible if your EV is performing or not, because you're the leader of the team. So yeah, as I said before, yes, you have to expect results from your TLs, but at the same time, you have to track them and you have to make sure that they actually feel your support and that you're there, and not just wait for a month and be like, oh, hey, what did you do? Because in the end, you're the leader of the whole team. if you do a good job in terms of delegating and tracking your TLs, you won't have to be an operational VP. And this is the best example that I can give right now, because a lot of people are overwhelmed about becoming VPs because they are going to have a lot of work, but it is because they are not delegating tasks. And I know that some of you know that, for example, a lot of your current VPs are doing almost all of the activities, and that's not the point. If they actually delegate a task and were tracking the task, they shouldn't be that operational. And yeah, this is something that takes time, and it is a skill that you have to develop as a leader. But yeah, make sure that you are actually pushing your team, and that you're delegating activities, and that you're tracking them, and this is really, really going to help you in your Isaac experience. And yeah, make sure you will have TLs because of strategical reasons, and not because you don't want to do your job. And this is, for example, don't have a TL in your team if you just have 3 members. It doesn't make sense, because then you're gonna have problems about communication. They are not gonna know who's the actual team leader, if it's the team leader, or if it's the VP. And also, yeah, have TLs, because they are actually going to help you in terms of operations or in terms of tracking, and not just because you're like, oh yeah, I have a lot of work as a VP and I don't want to do this, so I'm gonna have a TL that is going to be the responsible. So these are the things that I would tell you in terms of how to manage team leaders. I know that it's a really broad topic, and that there are also a lot of things that are gonna come up with time. But yeah, in terms of this, just approach us as MC team. Your MC team has a lot of experience in terms of this. Approach past EBs, approach past LCPs. Ask them about what they did in a good way or in a bad way, what they learned during their term, so you can feel more prepared. And also, you're going to be learning by experience, so don't worry about that, but just make sure that you actually want to change these things, and that you don't have an attitude of like, oh yeah, like my team is not working and I'm not going to do anything about it. So ask people, ask for help. And yeah, I wish you the best. I hope you liked the session, and this is it. Thank you so much.